Hi guys, it's Vertis here. So today I'm going to be doing a game art director reacts to the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. So it's been a really long time since the last one came out. It's been 10 years. So 10 years ago, I was only in my second year of studying games art. And in that time, I got into the industry, became an art director, also a university lecturer, and actually released a game somewhere in between there as well. So it's been a really, really long time coming. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I'm going to watch it fresh with you guys. It's only 1 minute 30 seconds and it's got 128 million views. So really excited to see how games technology has come along.
Lucia, do you know why you're here?
Bad luck, I guess.
Okay, Rock. Okay, trying to absorb a lot of stuff there. So really, really high quality. I mean, when you look at certain things like the lookup tables, the environment fog, in trailers we obviously do add a little bit of information in there in terms of the engine details, so we do up it a little bit. Whether this is going to be the real-time visuals, I don't know, but as we can see right now, it's really impressive. If this is their actual day-night system with the kind of colors that they've got, it's going to look amazing. Let's see if we can see any other features.
Lucia, do you know why you're here?
Bad luck, I guess.
Mouth animation is always going to be difficult in games. It's really hard to get those like micro adjustments out, but I think it's a really good job so far.
There was a girl I knew. She said she cared about me. She tried to make my world the way she thought it should be.
It's cool. I like the vibe. I think hasn't gone down the super exciting. It looks like a very authentic world. And I think you can see that in the population of the NPCs. So this is a lot of geometry. It's a lot of texture cooling. There's a lot of things going along with animations and rigs. So this is all a very expensive scene. Again, whether that is the actual game, you've got to think about things like collision and stuff. So I'd like to see if this is actual gameplay, because that'd be very, very impressive. It could be that they're really aggressively LODing characters. So LOD means level of detail. Basically, the further away from the screen it is and the camera, we just switch it out with low resolution message. But yeah, Rockstar's really good when it comes to optimization, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does look like this.
She said she cared about me. She tried to make my world the way she thought it should be. Yeah, we were desperate then to have each other to hold our love.
That's cool. I wonder if you could, if you're like making TikToks or something like that. That's really cool. Or probably part of the questing line. Okay, so in terms of art detailing, obviously Rockstar's really renowned in Red Dead Redemption's the little nuances when it comes to like physicality. So something that popped out for me is like, obviously when you see this plane going, there's some visual distortions in there. So there's certain like cards and particle effects we can use to distort that to make it look realistic. I think from a distance here, the cars actually look quite good. I could almost tell what sort of type they are. I seem to remember in like GTA 4, if you were flying, they would slowly transition into these kind of like light emitting dots. But maybe it looks a bit more authentic. Seems that they've got some more types of vehicles around that could be interesting as well.
We were desperate then to have each other to hold our love.
So you see the water there, the jiggle physics. Any kind of ragdolling or jiggle physics in games is just really fun.
The only way we're gonna get through this is by sticking together, being a team.
So the thing I'm trying to work out here is how they're managing their cutscenes, if they're sort of like halfway in-game cutscenes, or if they're pre-recorded upscale rendering. The hair physics is very good, like how that's kind of come across. So it could be that they're upscaling the characters, and even the glass here looks very, very realistic, especially with the advent of PBR. Things are starting to look more like movies.
Trust?
Trust.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so There were so many frame switching there, my head was kind of exploding. I might have to go back through them. In terms of the game, I think it looks really cool. It's kind of got that the modern dystopian feel, like, you know, the TikTok and the weird stuff that people do, especially like these events and stuff. So let's have a look at a couple of stills and see what we can extract from it. Right off the bat, from what I can see, this is definitely in-engine shot. So you can see with the geometry of the silhouettes, basically, seems that there's incorporated a bit of subsurface scattering. So you never usually see grey shadows when it comes to a character's skin. So the shading's really good. And also I can tell because I can see physical hair cards. Hair cards are really hard to hide when it comes to the games industry. Usually someone's just like allocated to be that kind of hair artist, especially in such a big studio in a major title. So the water looks really, really nice, especially in current gen games. And you'll see with CG, the games industry has really aced when it comes to water. And because it's not like a face, when a human looks at it, they can't see the differences in how kind of like water is moving. So whenever you see water in games nowadays, chances are it's looking really, really good. As this was going through, this caught my eye, but the frame went really quick. So obviously the birds look really good, but what really took my attention was the vegetation. So the same as like hair cards, you usually see vegetation cards depending on the quality. But here, the artist has done really well to blend that all together. Or it might be the fact that they're actually using more individual physical pieces, like individual geometries of grass. So that's more common nowadays because we've got more processing power to use geometry. Usually the thing that refrains us are the textures. So it could be that this is just a very geometry dense scene, and that for the trailer that they upped the distance at which it's starting to get drawn in. So that's why this look is coming across really, really well. So I'm pausing here trying to work something out, and it's quite interesting. So when it comes to reflectance, it could be, well, it probably almost is using RTX. So in terms of real life reflectance, it's really expensive to do that. So it could be that they're using a mixture of HDRs, which is just like an image projection of the reflections. But from what I can see here, I think I can see a little bit of yellow. Those are actual real reflections, which does sell the realism. And so with major scenes like this, you'll also have a lot of reflectance in vehicles, in large buildings with a lot of glass. So now what we have with graphics cards is a lot of clever ways of upscaling things. So we render stuff vaguely accurately and then let the GPU systems basically recalculate that and make it look as realistic as possible to the viewer. Okay, so there's actually something I missed here, which is really, really good, and it's the hair physics. So it seems that these could be particle based or some sort of GPU ran hair simulation, or they could be individual hair strands. So really easy to do this kind of dynamics with people that have straight hair. So it could be that they're trying to flex that kind of feature in this shot quite purposefully. So let's play it. So yeah, you can see how it's basically colliding with the shoulder. That's all very expensive in terms of working out collisions, and also how the collisions are interacting with the hair strands on each other. So really cool technology there. A very impressive thing is the volumetrics. So another expensive feature is that you can have certain volumes and cards to fake things like smoke. So if you can see on the headlights, the rear lights, the reason they look so realistic is because they're physically interacting with those volumetrics. In the past, we've always had to fake bloom, like in Unreal Engine, and that's what really gives a light its physicality, like especially in the darkness. Even in old games, if we wanted to do like some ray casting or some god rays, sometimes we would actually physically make that geometry and that texture. Again, knowing how the game developer thinks in terms of these trailers, they are definitely picking each one to show off some kind of technology. So this is kind of like their lighting and volumetrics slide, almost like their presentation. Something I also see, and this is just as a game artist, is that the textures are slightly stretching because around the back of the pants here, the geometry might be a little bit low. So wherever you see kind of like a sharp angle, just means that a polygon is getting slightly stretched there. Those are somewhat unavoidable when it comes to skinning, or it might be that the artist didn't put enough geometry there to adhere to the bend that this character is doing. So just little subtle annoyances like that. So I'm slowing down this. There's something I wanted to see, and it's basically the dynamics of how everything's smashing here. So this could be a pre-rendered sequence. So for example, each one of these assets could be physically animated. It'd be super impressive if it's all physics based, because it's seems like a cinematic. I doubt it's an in-game version. They might have an in-game version where the person does that. It's just that all the assets that are flying off the table wouldn't be as realistic. So if we pause it here, you can see some cards spawning in, and eventually those will vanish. What I was really interested to see is if this table was breaking. If that was breaking, then that would look so impressive. I know there's some features that we're working on that can do that. Okay, just taking a pause here. So eye is really important when it comes to character rendering. You'll have a lot of refraction and internal reflection inside of the cornea, the iris, which is actually a physical hole. So eye rendering is very interesting. And also, if you look at the pores, the skin's looking very realistic. In games, we usually make the pores a lot bigger, so they translate to the screen a lot better. Obviously, now we're starting to use 4K and much high resolution consoles and screens, it's more important that we have things like actual physical stubble, wrinkles, and little eyelash features and things like that. The only thing that might not be as good that I'm looking at is the eye ambient occlusion, where the eye meets the corner of the lens. It's looking a little bit too white for me. It's always been a problem to do that in games. We used to paint ambient occlusions and then have that actually contract and retract with the eye. But when you're playing the game, you're not going to worry about these. So I've rewound to this section I thought was very interesting. Just take note of sort of the particles that are coming off the car. So you see that there's a lot of debris build-up. So for example, the leaves and the smoke, and it's all localized within the wheel and around the wheel. So I'm not sure if this is all cinematic based, if it's in-game and it actually has a reaction to the environment. So say, for example, if it was like snow or leaves dependent, I think that would be very interesting and also very expensive as well. So for example, if it was going through the puddle, we can often define what things are touching certain materials as physical materials. So it will change the sound, obviously make a splash sound, but it also could be emitting different kinds of particles from the back of the car. So if they do have those features in game, I think that would be super awesome. But it also could be that they're fluffing up the trailer. So in classic GTA fashion, they finish with like a iconic pose. I guess the campaign's built around these two people, whether they're in a couple. I've read nothing about the game. This is literally the first thing I've seen. But yeah, it could be some cool dynamics around there. I like what they've done with the cultural observations. So for example, like the TikTok integration and like almost taking the mick out of current day culture. I think that would be super, super funny and loads of opportunities for the humor that comes out in GTA. And also just really excited to play and look around the world and see what sort of art and what we're doing in terms of games industry and art and the technicals that come along with that. Usually GTA, they release some GDCs and some write-ups on the technicals that they use. So really looking forward to seeing that. I also know a lot of people who have been working on the game and not been able to necessarily talk about it. More videos may be coming out depending on what they release and when we can assess them all together. So if you're interested in getting into the games industry, definitely subscribe and come to this channel. Mainly focus on things like character art, but in my role in the industry, I've covered everything in terms of environments, vehicles, and the hiring side of basically getting artists into the games industry. So if that's something that's interesting to you, then definitely subscribe and look for future videos and maybe get into the industry because it's super, super, super fun. So thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.